What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Crocodile Lake, and today we are reading the final chapter of The Awful Battle of the Pekes and What's Possible by me. You could read along using the links to fanfiction.net, AO3, or Wattpad in the description below. And if you'd like to hear a certain fic read aloud, you could do so by clicking the Google form in the description to suggest a future fic. I really hope you suggest some stuff because I need some ideas. Please, I need it. With that being said, here is chapter 11. The war is over. Nobody won. Jenny saw Jelly running in the distance, shouting at her to get her attention. Jelly puts her paws up in recognition, but does not stop or even look back. They're in this chase together, and they now have each other's backs. So Rum Tum Tugger and Mistopheles were trying to keep up with Jenny Anydots, who was now attempting to catch up to Jelly Lorum, who was beelining towards Munkustrap before he reached Demeter. Munkustrap couldn't think about much else but his lover. How could he be so selfish and foolish? His amazing girlfriend, the person he fought for, not being safe because of his stupid actions. He could have just gone home and stayed home after the Jellicle Ball, but no, he had to wander and feel the need to be the hero. What's the point of even being a hero if the person you love isn't there to enjoy the safety with you? Monk reached the den, stopping with great force before doing his special pattern knock on the door. Demeter never liked knocking, so they came up with a special rhythmic pattern so she knew it was him. Wait, Munkustrap? He opened the door with the delicacy of decorating a cake, closing it gently behind him and approaching Demeter, who was sitting up and ready to climb out of bed. After he confirmed, she registered he was there. He sprung up on her, licking her with affections and kissing her passionately. Their noses booped and their ears twitched away from each other when they grazed as they nuzzled. The group chasing after Munkustrap finally caught up, wearing and out of breath. Jelly went to the window, too winded to look much, but got the okay to come in, so she let herself in. As she entered, Jenny right behind her. They caught the pair wrapped up in each other in pure joy. Monk, also catching his breath in between kisses, was just tying himself up with his mate, practically becoming one being. The two took a second before breaking apart, sitting up and looking at the group that accumulated in front of them. Jelly was baffled. How did Munkustrap know to use the window? Monk's eyebrows tilted heavily while Demeter laughed. He doesn't use the window, he just uses the door. Munkustrap was now reaching for his lover's shoulder, mouth thinning to a line. Why would I ever get in through the window? The group laughed, explaining to him the situation and why Jelly was so concerned for him showing up there. Oh, so you thought I didn't know my mate enough to know that she wouldn't like someone intruding on her? I feel like most people wouldn't like that, but I know especially Demi needs to feel safe. We have our ways. Like I said, I am her mate after all. The two older queens stood in silence, ashamed at their assumptions. Monk sighed. It's okay, though. I'm glad you were here to look after her, and me, for that matter. Jenny nodded softly as Jelly's smile lifted her ears. Of course. We love you both, and we're just glad you're safe. Munkustrap looked over at Tugger and Mistopheles, who were now by the door of the den, with Tugger leaning on the frame, letting Misto down, holding his lover's paw. He was so glad Tugger was gay. Monk knew too well that Tomcat could not handle kittens. At the very least, he was the one cat who truly understood Mistopheles, and frankly, he saw that being enough for his brother. Jenny looked at the two in their nest all intertwined with each other and thought back to their own youth, tripping on their own breath. Well, let's give the two some space. I'm sure they have some catching up to do. Tugger and Mistopheles, who were by the door, waved their byes and followed the two queens out, with the entrance of their den now being closed after a week of pain. Munkustrap finally found true rest in his queen. I'm so happy to be home with you. Demeter glimmered, slicking back the fur on top of Monk's head and letting her leg hug Monk's torso. I'm glad to see you happy and safe. Monk jumped up, eyes alight. I'm so sorry I left you by yourself. I should tell you what's been going on. Demeter cut off Munkustrap, sitting up with him and kissing him mid-sentence. No need, hun. Jelly's been keeping me up to speed on everything. Monk looked down, confused with twinges of hurt. I mean, like, before I went to the medical den yesterday. Demeter grazed her paw pads over the knuckles of Monk's paws. Yep, she told me about your heroic guarding. Monk shook his head like he was trying to jumble the words he's just heard. But the only cat who came to see me was Tugger. Demeter chuckled. Firstly, the older cats kept an eye on you from afar to make sure you were safe. Tugger, of course, wanted to help you, so regularly reported back to Jelly in case something like what happened yesterday were to happen. Jelly Lorm is the one that told it all to me. Tugger wanted to tell me himself, but I didn't want him in the den. Munkustrap bit his lip. Guess I'm glad the tribe looks out for me. Demeter jokingly booped Monk's nose. Needing love and care doesn't make you any less of a great leader, Monkey. You needed help, and that's okay. Everybody does. Monk let out a breathy laugh, his stomach jiggling dramatically for how little sound came out of his mouth. Yeah, I'm so messed up. Demeter once again leaned in for a kiss. This time it lasted longer than the first short peck. Their tongues met, grazing each other, running over their sharp front teeth before Demeter pushed Monk away to look him in the eyes. You're not messed up. You're messed with. Being messed up implies that there's something wrong with the core of who you are. But there isn't. Imagine if someone made a fresh batch of cookies. The recipe followed to the point, baked in a warm oven, decorated with care. But then, when the person baking them turns away, a child comes and sprinkles hot flakes onto them, making them practically inedible. You're not messed up because you weren't born with these thoughts or these fears. You were never the person to keep yourself away from me. McCavity came and took your comfort from you. He took your safety. Him just getting into the ball was a way of realizing that he could do that anytime he wants and ruin everything. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because by McCavity taking away your foundations and safety nets, he sprinkled on hot flakes of doubt and fear and burden onto you. You'll always be my favorite cookie, even if you're a little spicy now. Munkustrap sat and thought for a minute. First about the words themselves, how he felt less like a mistake because of them, and then he thought about his amazing partner. Demeter didn't usually have a great way with words, but that was just too beautiful. Yeah, you're right. You can't win at cards if we're shuffled a shitty hand. That's very smart of you. Thank you. Demeter blurted out an exacerbated laugh. Don't thank me. Thank Jenny Anydots for that one. You think I could have thought that one up myself? Love, that's what I'm told. I am the literal queen of being messed up. But according to Jenny, the spool of thread in my skull just got tangled. Monk smiled, bringing his queen in for a hug, letting the rest of the air that filled his torso collapse into the body now pressed up against his. If your thread is tangled, I'll just have to sit there and unknot it, won't I? They felt their whiskers brushing against each other as they leaned in for a kiss. Munkustrap was very happy to be back in his lover's arms. He was also elated that he was able to be fully here and provide her whatever she could have needed. As much as he knew she cared, he didn't want Demeter seeing him in such a hurt and helpless state. Even so, they got to revel in each other. the fact they were alive, the fact that they were safe. Nothing was better. It remained peaceful for the rest of the night. Munkustrap and Demeter tangling on the bed in passionate kisses before falling asleep against one another. The nest was full of warmth again, sunken in with love. Sometimes you really only need help to show your worst self what is truly possible. Thank you so much for listening to my Cats the Musical escapades. If you liked hearing this, you could show your support by liking the video or commenting. You could subscribe, mayhaps. Please use the Google form in the description to give me or story ideas. I really want to know what you guys are into listening to, so I know what to record. Thank you so much for listening, and much like Munkustrap trying to kiss Demeter, do your best.